Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Sundry series. I am Tracy Ford. I am the owner and the host of this channel. Tonight we're going to be talking about book covers and its correlation with sales. This could be a very big no-brainer for a lot of you out there, but I still wanted to cover it just the same. And to start with, you have to see your cover as the ability to make a first impression with a reader. Like I said, a lot of this is going to be like a duh episode, like really? You didn't think we knew this? However, I know that a lot of us, especially indie authors, are working on a very tight budget, which can impact our ability to get really good cover designs. So the other part of this is to know where to look. And I'm going to give you one specific example of where I looked to get my book cover. Now, what I want to show you is the book cover that I financed in 2012 for The Fine Line. That's it. It's very plain. You have it looks cheap, okay? And the reason why it looks cheap is because it is cheap. This was a book that I got through BookLocker. I did all of my own editing, which the editing stunk because I wasn't able to afford someone else to do it for me. The interior formatting is very plain book, okay? Then, and I'm going to use this as a disclaimer, I am not trying to sell you this book. This book has been taken off of the market because it's getting ready to come back up as a second edition under my own publishing. This book was published by PDMI. They receive all the credit for the cover and the interior work. And despite our disagreement, they did an excellent job on the cover and on the interior design. They were truly good at what they did when it came to artistic design. So I am going to show you the cover that T.C. McKinney came up with. Like I said, very talented man. He did a really good job on the cover. This is the revamped cover of this book. Which would you buy? Not a very hard decision, just based on the cover. That's not counting what's on the back. This is just an example of cover design. And as I said, I am not promoting the purchase of this book because all of the rights are back in my hands, and this cover belongs to PDMI, not to me. But this was the best example I could use to show you the difference in a plain cover and one that has a little bit of spice to it. A good cover encourages your readers to pick up your book, and it encourages them to imagine what is in the book. This cover leaves a lot to be desired. You have no idea what this book is about. It could be about it could be a textbook, it could be a reference guide, it could be a script. You have no idea what this is. If you look at this cover, you can see it's kind of mysterious looking, it's kind of foggy, and then you have the text and the font that kind of say something's kind of mysterious about this. So you obviously know sort of what to expect before you even look at the back of the book. Cover design can be one of the most important parts of your work. Success depends in large part on your cover art as well as the summary that you put on the back of the book. Now, I just recently learned this because the summary that I have on the back of my books are completely being redone. They're very dry. I write I cannot write my own bio, and I cannot write my own summaries for my books, my own synopses. I can't do it. I am too analytical. Now, I can write a 300-page book about a fantasy or a romance or whatever, but I can't write 3 paragraphs to summarize an entire 300-page book or a biography that is not dry. I am very black and white when it comes to that, and I have a really hard time spicing up my own stuff, which is the very same thing I would run into, as you can well see, with the cover art. I don't know. That's why I'm trying to figure out someone else can do that. Like, I can't do it. So you look to other people with creative ways of marketing who you are and what you write. The book's spine is just as important as the cover. Like, there's the book spine on that one. And there's the book spine on that one. Distinct differences. And again, I'm not promoting the sale of this book. This book is out of print right now. But it is a great example of cover art. I do have cover art being prepared for the re-release of the second editions of some of my books. And I can tell you we have been working diligently on those, because I know how important it is for cover art to portray what I want the reader to know before they even open the book. Many say you have one chance to make a first impression, and that goes also with anyone that's an author. You have one shot at grabbing an audience. And the first shot at that is through your cover art. If you have a cover art that's plain, like that first book, you're not going to grab people. The only people that are going to read this book by choice are your friends and your family, or people that you give it to. Now, interior design is an aside that I want to get into really briefly, as well as proper editing. As I said, the first book that I showed you, the interior design is very, very blah. The interior design for this one, you can see kind of like a mist down here. Interior design is just as important, if not more important than the cover. I don't want to say more important, because your cover really, really sells it. But you've got someone standing in a bookstore and they're looking at your book and they're flipping through the pages. And you better hope the interior design is just as eye-catching as the cover page or as the cover art. The next thing that I want to caution you about, editing. You can have $1 million cover, and if there are errors in your book, you have just committed career suicide. And I have found this out the hard way. This book, as I said, this was edited by me, and it wasn't a good job. I wanted the book put out, and I could not afford an editor. Bad decision. Live and learn. This book was edited by a third party. It was not edited by an editor through PDMI. I actually asked for a favor from someone, and he, being an editor, edited the book. Now, I do understand there are some minor errors in the book, but nothing compared to the first for the first edition. You have to have a good editor. If you open up a book and there are hundreds of errors, will you read that author's books ever again? I wouldn't. I would want to crawl in a hole and die. I would never pick up the author's book again. I would completely, it would discredit that author beyond belief, you would not be successful. So I want to, I want to reiterate that book cover art is wonderful and it needs to be taken seriously. But there are other things in the process that need to be taken just as seriously, if not more. Editing goes to the top. You have to have a good copy editor. And those will cost, especially if you're an indie author. Book cover's going to cost. Interior's going to cost, especially if you're an indie. Many great authors have indie cover artists, independent cover artists. They're not through a traditional publisher. They are, I don't want to say freelance, but they're independent. For example, Selectographics, and I'll spell that for you because that's who I'm using currently for my cover art, and they're gifted. Selectographics, SELECT-O-graphics, GRAFIX. They are on Facebook. They have designed the first cover to my book. They are currently working on the second cover. So far, I am quite pleased with the vision that we share. The interior is just as good, and branding is everything. Tracy Ford needs to be branded, and that's important. For example, when someone sees Twilight, what do they think of? Stephenie Meyer. When someone sees The Mockingjay, what do they think of? The Hunger Games. Branding is extremely important for you as an author. Your cover art can reflect your branding. For example, if you are working on a series, you can reflect that series through cover art. Color and font choice, suggestions range from reflecting the genre to be the most important thing to do, like your primary colors like that against the dark colors, kind of like that, show that it's a crime or a thriller. Those are indicative of that type of genre. Now, it's not necessarily meaning that you have to limit yourself to that, but that's the suggestion, is that it's primary on dark. Simple, large fonts. Nothing fancy. Nothing that's hard to read. Just simple. Simple is best when it comes to someone trying to read the words on a cover, because there's usually a lot going on a cover. Not so much that it's busy, but you want it to be something that you can read easily. High resolution photos are extremely important as well. If you get grainy photos, they're not going to go as well on your covers. They're not going to cover your cover. That makes no sense, sorry. They're not going to reflect professionalism, is what I'm trying to say. The other thing is that the benefits of a good cover is that it transforms just a manuscript, a pen and paper manuscript, into a work of legitimate art. It eliminates a title page. If you have a manuscript and you're putting that in binding and you're putting that in a book, and you have a plain cover like this, all that is a title page. And title page to me means research paper. So you don't want that. You want a cover that tells your reader what genre they're getting ready to look into. You want to focus on vital parts of the book, whether that's a character, a plot line, a house, a situation in the book. Try to incorporate that into your cover art. Also, you want it to stand out. You don't want it to melt into the millions and millions of books that are out there. You want someone to look at it and say, wow, I really want to read that. Look at the art. The covers have to be an invitation inside. Professionalism, as I said, it has to exude professionalism. Fans and readers will take you seriously if you have good cover art, if you have good interior art, and if you have great editing. If your stories flow, yay. But that's what your editors are for, to say, I don't understand this. Did you want to put this in here? That's why you always need a second set of eyes, or even a third set of eyes on your books. Again, a cover can relay the storyline. According to one study, 79% said that cover design determined the sale of the book. In other words, according to the booksmugglers.com, 79% of people surveyed said that the cover art drew them in and they purchased the book. 79%. That's pretty significant. Authors who spent money on a professionally designed cover earned 18% more in royalties. And that's according to books at scarlettruggers.com. 18% more royalties just on your cover. If you spent money on your cover, decent money on your cover. Getting a cover is not cheap, but it's one of those expenses in your budget as an indie author that is very well, it's money well spent. Since I have made the transition from traditional to indie, it's cost me some money, but in the end, the quality of work is what I'm looking for. And having a book come out with over 130 errors in it does not tell people that I am professional and that I am a credible author. It is career suicide. So as an aside to this particular episode about cover art, I cannot stress to you enough how important editing is to your manuscript. You will not catch your own errors. Fortunately, if you read aloud, you'll catch more than if you would not read aloud. The third book that I have coming out in April, that's exactly how I had to do it. It went through 4 passes of edits and still had over 100 errors in it. And needless to say, I am no longer with the individuals that published that book, or were going to publish that book. But that's then, this is now. What I'm telling you is, there is a system to being an author. And one of the most important pieces to that system is editing. But cover design is also quite important. And you don't want to skimp on this stuff. If you have someone that's gifted in cover art, that's a great artist, use them. Use them, but make sure you do your homework and make sure you really look at what the market is putting out. Do research. Research can give you so many other options, whereas if you in your mind have something, anything is possible when it comes to art. Work with your cover designer on what your vision is. That's what they're there for, is to portray what your vision of your manuscript is or was. The indie world is taking over the world of publishing, the world of books. You do not have to be signed with a traditional publisher to achieve success. This goes for cover design. There are many, many, many cover designers out there. Look at your budget, but most of all, look at samples. Like I said, research before you make a decision. Find a book you like, and then research that designer. There's plenty of indie books coming off the presses that have great designers credited either inside the book cover, on the outside of the book cover, and you can usually link up with them because they're usually freelance or independent. So if you're an author and you're getting ready to publish a book, or you have published a book, or you need to spice up your cover, research. Always research. And welcome to the indie world. That's it for tonight. Very short, very sweet. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. As I said, and I will say it again because I do not want to get in trouble, I am not telling you to purchase this book. This book is no longer available. It will be coming out as a second edition. It will be Between Worlds, The Fine Line. It will have a brand new cover, and it will be published under Oswend Publishing, which is my own publishing company. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Oswend because there's been a lot of questions about Oswend. Oswend Publishing is a limited liability company. It is owned by my husband. It is a way for my books to be published legitimately. Here in my small community, they still want to see traditional publishers putting out books. In other words, when I go to the library and I say, I'm an indie author, they look at me like there's something wrong, and they do not take me seriously. If I go to the library and say, I am Tracy Ford and I am published through Oswend Publishing, their eyes are going to light up and they're going to take me a little bit more seriously. That is just the climate of my area. There's nothing I can do about that. But in order to market to my local area, I need to have a company backing me. Oswend is not a traditional publisher. At this point, we aren't even a vanity press. We are simply using Oswend to publish the books that I have, as well as Jamie Ronan. It may be that we open that door up a little bit wider someday, but for now, we're starting out very small. We're starting out very slow. I have seen what fast growth does to a company, and I don't want that to be my legacy. I don't want empty promises to be my legacy. I don't want poor editing to be my legacy. I want to be taken seriously as an author. And in my little area of the world, it takes being published through a company for people to take me seriously. So therefore, Oswend was born. If you have questions about that, you can ask me as well. Again, I'm going to tell you that The Fine Line, Between Worlds, The Fine Line, will be coming out as a second edition in April. Idolum has also been discontinued. It will come out as a second edition. Right now, the tentative name to that book is Voice of the Dead, and it is the second in the Between Worlds series. And the third book is going to be Through Glass Darkly. It will be a trilogy. They will all be available in April. Again, if you have questions, please let me know. Otherwise, I want to thank you for tuning in. The next thing that we will be talking about is character preparation. In other words, if you're writing a book and you need to like vamp up your characters a little bit, we're going to be talking about how to do that, how to do character development so that you can engage your reader and get them to fall in love with your characters just as much as you have. Any questions, shoot them my way. Have a great day wherever you are. Love and light to you, and God bless you. Thanks.